everyone. It's Mike with Unique Wealth Education, and we are here today to talk about building, diversifying, and protecting wealth. You know, most of your real estate investors start out as wholesalers, some going to fix and flips, some going to own and rental properties, some graduate to own apartment complexes, mobile home parks, and other asset classes. So, I like to touch base in all asset classes. I think that all of them are unique in their own sense. And you could talk to different people in each segment of the market. And when they're really successful, they'll tell you how great that segment of the market is. So today I have Al Bazzy on with Strategy Properties. He's a property specialist at the company, and he has sold thousands of properties, turnkey properties to investors all around the country. And it's actually a company that I am the president of, and Al is a great asset to our company and handles a lot for our company. So Al, welcome to the show today.
Mike, thanks again for having me on your podcast. It's an honor to get on your podcast, and very excited.
I appreciate it. So Al, you've been with the company now for how long? It's going on 6 years?
Yep, turning on 6 years.
Going on 6 years. So, it's been a great ride with you, and I look forward to many more years of success with you and working together. And you actually came on with no prior real estate experience. And, it's funny how much you've grown personally throughout the last 6 years. So tell me, how have you, how did you take the information in, and how did you get to the point where you're at, where you're a specialist in rental properties and really all aspects of the fix and flip process, from, the renovation, tenant placement, and the property management aspect?
Well, I'll say this. When I first came into the company, I at least knew the area, and this is obviously where I'm born and raised, like I've told many of the clients. So I had the background information about the area, and I had to just kind of learn more about, like you mentioned, the fix and flip process that I learned throughout the duration and tenure of my employment here with Strategy Properties. And when I first started working here in the leasing department, I learned what rental rates are going for what, and how the Detroit market is brings such immense value to investors with the rent to value ratio that it brings to all of the investors globally, like I mentioned. So throughout the learning process, Mike, you've done an amazing job being a mentor to me. And taking me under your wing and teaching me the whole process of fix and flip, as well as turnkey properties. And I was just able to take what I've learned through what you've shown me, as well as my knowledge in the area, and kind of relate that to our investors. And they see that wholeheartedly once they talk to me or they come in for a tour. I think they really see that, and they capture that. So I'm able to have that connection with investors.
Well, it's an honor to work with you, and I'm very proud of you from you're developing your skill set in real estate, and that's what our goal is too on this podcast, is to help a lot of investors, whether they're new investors or existing investors, to really realize all the different aspects of real estate, and bringing on a lot of different guests. So today we're going to be talking about turnkey with you, because that's one of the areas that you specialize in, and you've dealt with so many different clients, and we'll start talking about some of that stuff. So as far as, how would you say that the Detroit market compares to other markets around the country?
Yeah, absolutely. I can compare Detroit to many other markets, but I truly feel that it can stand toe-to-toe with any other market in the country, because like I mentioned earlier, the affordability that the Detroit market has. Detroit is the number one market to live in with a household income of $60,000 and under. So that tells me the affordability here, combined with the rent to value ratio that it offers is a great recipe for investors to jump in. And with the potential that Detroit now is on the rise with all these, tech industries that have been coming into the market, and even the population itself, where we've seen the growth isn't necessarily, I'm saying, in population numbers, but where it's happening in the location in the downtown area. So we've had a lot of millennials that have moved into the downtown area with all these new jobs that have been coming back to Detroit. So where I've seen now Detroit compared to other markets, for example, other Midwest markets like Cleveland, for example, I think Detroit is like a baby Cleveland that's is flourishing into another major market that I think it can surpass as well. So
I think I may be biased here. I think I am, but the thing is, I think we're better than Cleveland. I think we have
well, the upside and the potential eventually, yes. And our numbers obviously, are going to be a little bit better than Cleveland. They're going to be more of an established market where we're still an up and coming market.
Right.
People are wanting to dive in. And the city itself, the city of Detroit, has broken, records in 2018 for the amount of permits pulled per properties, certificate of occupants that have been approved. So it's quite exciting and to see not only my hometown, but to see the market that I'm selling in do so well.
That's excellent. That's excellent. Let me ask you, where are the jobs in Michigan? So a lot of times, I remember back in 2011 and 12 when I would travel, and people would ask me, hey, where are your jobs and whatnot, and this and that, and they would always refer back to the automotive industry, which was struggling back at that time. And I now look at it like we're quite a diverse market. But talk to me about the jobs and tell me, where are the jobs? Where are people making money? What are the typical tenants doing for a living?
Sure. So this is a question that obviously comes up a lot of the times when I'm on a tour or even a call. Clients want to know where exactly is the income coming in for these tenants. So Detroit isn't now what it used to be, like you mentioned 8, 7, 9 years ago, where the backbone of the market was strictly the automotive industry. Where the transition now, we've had like Google, Tesla, Microsoft, and other major companies that have came into Detroit and have opened up offices here and have offered thousands of different jobs to some of our applicants and some of our people that live in our properties today. There's a new Jeep factory being built right now in 2019. There's a couple new GM plants and Ford plants that are coming back. Also, we have thousands of residents that are also employed by our heavily medical field. That we have hundreds of hospitals around here in the Metro Detroit area that employ thousands of residents. So we're heavily interested in now the tech industries, where I'm seeing a lot of the newer jobs come in.
Yeah, that's excellent. That's excellent. So, so Michigan.
And one thing I didn't mention, Mike, sorry to cut you off, is now we're ranked as the number 16th city in the country for tech jobs that it offers. We've had 323 new jobs in the last few years that have came up. So it's quite fascinating stat. And in the last year, we've ranked as the number 1 city for the amount of tech jobs that we've created.
Wow, that's incredible. I know Dan Gilbert talks about, in his video, which we show people sometimes, the number of tech jobs that have been created here and the tech companies that are coming here. So that's quite impressive. As far as the type of homes and the type of clientele and tenants that are in our homes, what would you say are the typical jobs that they work in? What is the focus of the work that they do in Detroit and Southeast Michigan?
Sure. So we offer A-class properties, B-class properties, and C-class properties. So obviously some of these jobs are going to vary based on where these homes are located. If I'm talking more of an A-class area, you probably have people that have some white-collar jobs, where they've probably been behind a desk for years, and then transitioning over to like a B class, you'll have more of a blue collar job. Could be your type of 9 to 5 worker, even could be a factory worker that's very common to see that. And in C-class, this is one thing that I tell all my clients. Just because I use the classification that we defined it as a C-class doesn't necessarily mean that I'm degrading
No,
the area, the
of
property,
course.
or the tenant. And if I compare a C-class in like Detroit versus you mentioned like let's say Las Vegas or LA or Chicago, these are two different types of animals that we're talking about here. Every market has a different definition for their classifications, and every person also can have a different meaning. So if you come on a tour with me, I may show you a C-class, and you might be, pretty pushed back, pretty thrilled by, wow, this looks like a B-class. Al, I wasn't anticipating that. So if you see somebody that has a really good paying job in a C-class, it's very common to see that. So, your B-class and C-class, they're almost neck and neck.
Well, I've been on so many tours I can't even count it with you, Al, and you and I know all the properties that we bring in. We only allow properties that are in stable, dependable neighborhoods, and homes that both tenants and or owners are going to live in. So that's very important to set up an investor for success, because ultimately what we want that investor to do is to continue to come back and buy and to reap the benefits of the returns over and over. So I appreciate you explaining the C class and the B class. That's very important to know that it's there's different areas, and I guess speaking on that, you have different price points. There's C class price points, B class, A class, and there's also different rental rates. So speak to me a little bit about that.
Yeah, exactly. So when you're in your A class, obviously you're going to have more of your homeowners there that live in that A class. Your price ranges are going to be, I'd say, north of 120,000. In your B class, you're going to have a mix of some homeowners and mostly renters, of course, but that range is going to be anywhere between 80,000 and about 120,000. And your C class is going to start right around that 55,000 and work its way up to about 75, almost 80,000. Where I've been seeing most of the appreciation has been in properties that have been in the C class, maybe even C plus, that are now starting to touch that B class area. These are properties that are maybe just outside of like certain subdivisions like a Grandmont or a Grosedale Park. So there's properties that are just outside of these subdivisions that I just mentioned that are starting to grow and starting to even appraise above purchase price, where maybe 18 months ago, these properties weren't even appraising. And it's crazy what a turnaround that we've seen in the last, year and a half, where these properties now are appraising above purchase price.
And we really have to dig for the properties, which we're really good at. I know that that's one thing that as a whole we concentrate on. It's about the quality of property. If we wanted to do quantity, that's not the way to go for people to be able to have long-term success and to reap the benefits of rental income and potential appreciation. Appreciation is never promised. It's always something that could happen. We've seen it happen over the last 7, 8, 9 years, but you could never promise that. Back even in 2013, when we even know the market's going to go up, you don't want to promise that ever. That's not something, we don't have a crystal ball for. What you could count on is the rental income that's coming in every month. So that's very
Mike,
important.
Another thing I wanted to bring up is I love how you talked about what we do here and some of the things we look for, where investors can then take that formula and maybe look for those and identify those tips into other markets. We talked about A class and B class and C class and the way that, stable and dependable neighborhoods and all that other good stuff. This isn't necessarily just a Detroit thing. I mean, for all the listeners out there that are out, listening to this.
Any market in the country.
This is a plug and play formula that is used throughout the country. So.
Absolutely. So one of the things when we're talking about these properties, I believe that all major cities, the suburbs and the surrounding neighborhoods of that major city, what happens in that major city trickles out to the neighborhoods, then to the suburbs. So downtown Detroit, talk to me about downtown Detroit. What do the clients think about downtown Detroit when you go there, and what do you think about it?
So I'm sure you've all heard the saying, save the best for last. And that's typically on my tour. That's one of my last stops that I always make. I kind of leave a good taste in our client's mouth, as having our tour in the downtown area be one of our last stops that we make. So we do about a 30-minute tour through the downtown area, taking a look at some of the revitalizations that have been happening in the downtown area with Dan Gilbert's buildings, Mike Illich's buildings, the new sports arenas, and the new pubs and bars that have been coming up. You even see new McDonald's out there in like Buffalo Wild Wings and all these major franchises, Fortune 500 companies that are in downtown Detroit now. So people, clients, when they come see that, even myself, throughout the years as I was giving out these tours, Mike, every week I would go down there and I'd say, oh, look at that Shake Shack. That's a brand new Shake Shack. That wasn't there last week. I didn't notice that. Or, something silly like that. I'll see a new building put up their sign and I'm like, oh, that wasn't there a week ago. So it was quite interesting to see that, revitalization week by week.
It makes us really happy to see that because we know that things are going in the right direction. Al and myself, being from Southeast Michigan, it's gives you joy to see a revitalization of an entire city and homes that are appreciating in value. Like we said, it's never guaranteed, but they are. And I know you mentioned save the best for last with downtown, but I actually look at it like going into our homes is probably the best. You go down to neighborhoods, you see these homes, all brick homes, 3-bedroom, 1.5 bathrooms. There's a basement and garage, rents for $900, and you go down the street and you're like, hold on, you put this in another city, another state. This is a $180,000 home, and you're selling it for $70. To me, that actually is some of the best parts of what we do. And then you get those tenants that walk into our homes and see the renovations. I think that's really impressive also.
Yeah, that's going to be our meat and potato, Mike. Right there, you just hit it right on the head. But with everybody coming into town, they have this impression of Detroit being some ghost town or some war zone, and then they're able to see these neighborhoods that we're investing in, and then go through that downtown area because most of these videos that were ever put out of Detroit, the media could have been in some rougher areas of Detroit, and that doesn't necessarily mean that we're investing in those areas. Like Mike mentioned, we're in stable and dependable areas that have a high rental demand. And in the downtown area, when they go down there and they say, wow, this place is really nice and it's all nice and cleaned up, and I can compare it to, like, for example, Chicago or Seattle, they're quite thrilled, and I get quite excited to hear these comparisons. So.
Absolutely. So Al, let me ask you this. We've seen a lot of other, really good turnkey operations around the country. We've seen some that, do things differently. How do you think that Strategy Properties is unique and provides clients with a really good experience?
That's an easy question for me, Mike, because this is something that I leave all my investors with. And it's a saying that I repeat myself over and over, is we always have our investors back through thick and through thin. Somebody that's just going to be selling a property and saying goodbye. We're looking to build a portfolio with this investor. We're looking to build a relationship with these investors. Our in-house property management team they've been given gifts by investors because they have that type of relationship with our property managers. So what makes us unique is our ability to connect with these investors and treat their properties as if they were our own properties. And they truly do feel that way as well. For our newer investors that are listening to this, they can check out our website online and see some of the testimonials that some of the testimonial videos that investors have left.
Strategyproperties.com.
Yeah. So that's what really is what's going to make us so unique, is our ability to really handle the investors' portfolio and connect with them. We can be reached at all time. You've heard the other investor that was here the other day. He said, hey, my property manager, Monica, I can't say this for everybody, he mentioned, can be reached 24/7. And I'm all the way on the West Coast, and he's called her before at 9 o'clock his time.
I think that's one of the videos that you're with one of our investors that's been with us for a couple of years now.
Correct.
And he was thrilled. But, Al, I'll capitalize on what you just mentioned there about, how are we unique and how Strategy Property is different. I think that you hit the nail on the head there with, we always got our investors back. And it's like, one of the things that we do that I really get impressed with our own company doing this is when we have weekly meetings and we list out any client that has ever had a problem and we say, hey, the problem might be the home, was rented, tenant, moved out after a couple of years, and we had to do some cleanup work, so it took 45 days to get in there. And even those little things, we put that client on the list and we say, how can we take care of them? And sometimes what we do is, we'll find them whether it be a fix and flip, or we'll get them in to do a JV deal with us. But we always take care of them, and they always make money with us. And I feel that they feel that they are part of the Strategy family, and that's very important to me personally, and I know it is to you too, that we do things right and ethically, and we produce results for people. So that's something that I'm most proud of, and it's more, like you said, I think it's expanding more on what you mentioned about having our clients back, but it makes me so proud to be part of a company that has that philosophy.
Absolutely. And also, speaking for the city of Detroit, Mike, I think they feel very much the same way when they see us applying for these permits and they see our logo and our stamp on these permits. They're like quite thrilled to see the type of impact that we're having, on our economy and environment over here in Detroit.
We make our community better. We make the neighborhood better. We make the neighbors' homes more valuable. And gosh, I go into our houses, and Al, you know this too. You should share. I know you share pictures with the clients and whatnot, and I know there's weekly tours that they come out and see properties. But you walk into one of our kitchens, you got granite in there, you got backsplash in there, it's like, I look at it like, we really revitalize that home. And that makes me proud, because then we go get a tenant who is qualified and, is going to be a great tenant with us and feels that they can't find a home, renovated to that standard. And then a property management company that's going to be that responsive and really take care of them, in a respectful manner and treat them like they're our client, because they are our client as well as the owner of the home.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, Al, speak to me a little bit about, the property management company, which is in-house, which is ProWay Property Management, ProWayPM.com. Speak to me a little bit about, why are they so good? Why is, ProWay PM so good at property management?
Well, our property management team is in-house. That right there, I could say, adds a little bit, gives us a little bit of an edge right there, because our capability of doing things in-house, where you are not having to outsource or subcontract any of the work that we're doing for some of our clients, which for you seasoned investors out there, you obviously know that's going to cut down on time and that's going to cut down on cost. So to me, that's a really unique factor that we offer to our clients. And the next step above that is our ability to go above and beyond with these clients. A lot of our investors, they're throughout the whole world. They're globally. We have investors in Taiwan, Italy, New Zealand, as well as even the West Coast here in the United States. So time zones doesn't matter. We're able to show that by getting an answer back to our clients within 24 hours, no matter what. And I feel very confident with that. There's times that our property managers are here late. There's times that our property managers that are here very early. So, I see that in and out. So I'm very proud of them. I'm very, very proud of them. And I know that because clients come back to me and they say, hey, Al, it's been 6 months and everything's been, so far so good. I'm looking to get into another property.
Yeah, Al, I think that, what we have in place is systems, policies, procedures, systems, and most importantly, people. And I think that's what makes, ProWay Property Management, ProWayPM.com so special, is that, they have that all in place. We use technology, and most importantly, we have people that care, and we measure on a weekly basis. It's kind of like measuring, what is the status of this investment on a regular basis. And is there going to be problems? Sure, there's problems with anything anyone ever does, but it's how do you face the problem? A tenant, their lease comes up, they stayed in the property for 3 years. Well, to me, it's shrinking the window and getting our tenant in there. And I think we're really, Pro APM is really good at that, and that helps the experience of the client immensely.
Yeah, I think Mike, you hit that right on the head. Property management, very confident. I hear so many good things from other clients.
Absolutely. So I know you and I, Al, talked before we jumped on the podcast, and I asked you. I said, hey, what is the best way for people to get a better understanding of of Strategy Properties, our team, our processes, our systems, the city of Detroit, and most importantly, the homes that we provide. And you mentioned, coming out for a tour. So, what's when is your availability? Do you do it on a weekly basis? How do you do things?
Yeah, so I mean, practically, you're just shooting me an email with some available dates. I like to keep the tours to 1 to 2 maximum a week. These are usually given in the middle of the week, Wednesdays and Thursdays. At times, they can be an all-day thing, depending on what time we start. We typically try to start around 10 o'clock. For some of those people that have a late flight coming in or whatnot, they may run till 3, 4, or 5. But that could all be furnished depending on the client's availability, if they have a hard stop or another flight flying out. So, but yeah, absolutely. If anybody that's interested in getting on a tour, you can shoot me an email with some dates that you're available. Just keep in mind, we'd like to keep them for the middle of the week or on Wednesdays or Thursdays. If I already have a tour, let's say for Wednesday setup, I try to piggyback other clients that are looking to set up a tour for that week on that same day.
And Al, I know a lot of times clients come in here, and we've had tours where a lot of people, we go to 5, 6 houses, and we have 30, 40 people with us, and they walk up to you and they say, hey Al, I want this house, and someone else is the same and whatnot. So what do you do with clients that want particular type of inventory, or let's say all the inventory is spoken for? Do you have a wait list, or how do you do it where you make sure you take care of them, whether it be that week or a month or 2 down the line?
So it is a first come first serve basis, and we feel like that's the best way to go with the type of demand that is out for these properties. As we all know, Detroit is very affordable. Our homes fly off the shelf. Somebody that's doing a 1031 exchange that may have 300,000-400,000, they're looking to pick up 4 or 5 properties or whatnot. So our homes do go very quick. So the first come first serve basis is typically what I offer to clients. Mike, I get all the buying criteria and info, and I put it into our Podio system, and then typically when a property comes up, I'll get an alert for that property and who suits best, and it's first come first serve once we blast it.
I love what you just said there. You put it into our system. So Strategy Properties is a well-organized, well-oiled machine. We have systems in place, policies, procedures, people. We always invite people to come out and see it for themselves. So that's great, that you mentioned that. Al, I know that I got you on this podcast, and I appreciate your time. I know you're busy today, but I will also leave the listeners with this. If you want to get a hold of Al and talk to him about anything real estate oriented, inventory that Strategy Properties has, sometimes there's flip opportunities, Detroit. Sometimes there's JV opportunities that are provided, lending opportunities, all the above. You can reach Al at strategyproperties.com. So Al at PRETIES.com. I want to make sure that's clear, so people, you could reach Al and talk to him about anything real estate related, Detroit related, turnkey related. He's here to answer your questions, and hopefully we'll catch you on the next podcast. Al, thank you very much for being a guest. It's been wonderful, and thank you for your information you've provided.
Awesome. Thank you guys. Thanks, Mike, again for having me.
Thank you.